Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the episode Recap and Thoughts category. This video will be dedicated to the B segment of episode 14 of the Loud House, Two Boys and a Baby. We begin this segment with Lincoln waking up on a Sunday morning, and he's ready to just have a nice breather day before he has to get back in the usual routine, starting with Monday. However, he soon hears his mother call out to the rest of the family, saying how they're going to visit Aunt Ruth. Lincoln also clarifies for the audience that Aunt Ruth is his mom's aunt, which means that she's the Loud siblings' great aunt. We then see some flashbacks of the family visiting Aunt Ruth, voiced by Grey Griffin, who also voices the twins and Lily. And we get to see that visiting Aunt Ruth is not the most fun of experiences, to say the least. And Lincoln says he in particular seems to get singled out to do some of the more unpleasant of activities, usually surrounding her many cats, although Lana apparently wouldn't mind doing that herself. Lincoln also reveals that the only Loud family members that are able to skip out on visiting Ruth are his dad and Lily. Lily because Aunt Ruth doesn't trust the baby around her cats, and Mr. Loud to watch over Lily. But then Lincoln gets an idea. What if he's the one who watches Lily rather than his dad? And he actually does bring up the idea to his parents, and he helps to get Mrs. Loud on board with the idea, not only to say that Mr. Loud will have the chance to reunite with Ruth after so long, but also commenting how he's observed how to take care of Lily from not just the parents, but the older Loud sisters as well. And Mrs. Loud is on board with the idea. Mr. Loud, though, dreads seeing Aunt Ruth's extra toe. As the rest of the family head off to see Aunt Ruth, Lincoln actually receives a call from Clyde on his walkie-talkie not too long after, seeing if Lincoln wants to hang out with him. Lincoln would like to, he mentions, but he has the responsibility of watching Lily, and Clyde actually is more than happy to come along and help out. Good on you, Clyde. So then Clyde arrives, and we do see a series of scenes that demonstrate Lincoln and Clyde trying to help Lily out with what they need to do to take care of her, but it's not an easy feat. Trying to feed her is quite complicated. Trying to change her diaper is also not too easy as well. We even get a scene where they try to use a fish hook to get the old diaper away, but it ends up coming near a fan. I see what you did there. And then lastly, they actually are able to put her to sleep pretty easily, but unfortunately screaming during a zombie movie marathon wakes her up, and they have a hard time doing so. During a call from Mrs. Loud, Lincoln admits this when she hears Lily crying, and she simply suggests taking Lily to the park since she thinks that'll tire the baby out. So that's exactly what Lincoln and Clyde set out to do. Clyde also thinks that Mrs. Loud might have been reading some of the baby help books that he's read in the lobby of his therapist, Dr. Lopez's office. That's how he was able to help out Lincoln throughout most of the segment. They get to the park, and it seems fine, but they end up dozing off for a while. But when they wake up again, they see Lily crawling away. So we get a whole chase scene where they try to get Lily, and it ends up with a bunch of other babies piled up. Like, that's how it all ends, and they seem to have picked up Lily among the pile of babies and bring her back, but Lily sounds a bit different when she cries, and when they look in the crib again, it turns out Lily is not Lily, but a boy baby, and he's voiced by Lara Jill Miller, Lisa's voice artist. So the boys realize they gotta go back and find Lily and bring whoever this baby boy is back to his parents. After a complicated scene where there's a lot of extreme hills and such on the stream as they try to get the baby back, and they eventually make it to the park. They find the baby's dad, and he has Lily with him as they suspected, and thankfully they're able to get to him before he's able to drive off and explain the misunderstanding. The dad, voiced by Jess Harnell, who also voiced Pucker Oppenheimer back in For Bros About to Rock, he's quite grateful to the boys because he's apparently had a track record of accidentally picking the wrong baby. Now, Lincoln, Clyde, and Lily make it back to the Loud House, and while Lincoln does concede it was harder than he expected, he still considers it to be better than what he would have had to done if he went to Aunt Ruth's. Eventually, the Loud family does return, but they don't enter the house for some reason. Mrs. Loud then calls Lincoln and confirms she did receive a call from the baby boy's father, whose name is revealed, or the baby boy's name is revealed to be Billy, so it's Billy's dad who calls Mrs. Loud because it turns out Billy had chicken pox, and it seemed Lincoln, Clyde, and Lily had been exposed to it as well, although we don't actually see any symptoms of it. But Mrs. Loud doesn't want to take the chance, and so she says they have to be quarantined. She does say, though, that Aunt Ruth already had the chicken pox, so they have to be quarantined with her. So the segment ends with Lincoln, Lily, and Clyde at Aunt Ruth's, and yeah, that's how it ends. Now for this segment, quite a few people were not too thrilled with it, but in myself, there were things I did like and things I didn't like, so I don't outright dislike the segment. I do feel there were worst ones, but it isn't my favorite either. But what can we talk about? Most people will recognize the plot line as being similar to the babysitter finds out that watching a baby is harder than it seems. And again, I don't personally have a problem with that. Like, it's a plot point that's been done before, but again, I'm always more, it's how it's executed is what's more important, not how many times it's been done in the past. And I thought overall it was well done. I know some people questioned why did Lincoln have such a hard time, and Clyde for that matter, why did they have such a hard time watching Lily when they seem to have an easier time in other segments? Now, from my own experiences and from what I've observed, my reference pools, if you will, I've seen that sometimes babies can have off days too, much like kids, teens, and adults. Like, sometimes, yeah, you can easily take care of one day, but another day they might be a bit harder to take care of. And that's why it didn't personally bother me, or I didn't really question why they had such a hard time with Lily this time around. I just figured it was an off day for Lily, so that didn't really... I didn't see that as necessarily an error or a goof. I just thought, okay, yeah, this was probably just something that sometimes happens with babies based on my observations. So that's why I didn't really mind it too much. And I thought it was nice of Clyde to help Lincoln out. That was something I really liked, since it kind of does go back to how Clyde is shown he enjoys hanging around the sisters, which we saw back in Overnight Success, but it also shows Clyde's a good friend to Lincoln, because I don't know about... I'm sure there are some people out there who have friends who'd help them out if they had to watch a baby, but I've also know there are some people who may not be too comfortable for it, so... But I thought that was nice of Clyde to do that, so good on you, Clyde. And this is where we got to see more of the extended family for the Loud family in the form of the siblings' great aunt, Aunt Ruth. And yeah, the fact they call her Aunt Ruth, even though for the siblings she's actually the great aunt, that actually is something I can attest to is something that does happen because we have a great uncle that we regularly see, but we just call him uncle. We don't always say great uncle every time we talk to him. We just say uncle. So, and he is my mom's uncle. So, yeah, I can attest to that. Like, it's normal for people to call their great uncle or their great aunt just uncle or aunt. So, they did that in Hey Arnold too, actually, now that I think about it. Grandpa Phil's sister appeared once, and while Arnold did initially call her his great aunt, she insisted that he just refer to her as his aunt. So, yeah, that was something I could relate to in that regard, too. And, oh, I thought it was a pretty funny gag what they did with Billy, the baby they mistook for being Lily, because it turns out Billy's design is actually one of Lily's proto designs, or before they settled on her final design. The only difference is that Billy doesn't have the visible eyelashes that Lily has. So that's really the only difference. So it was actually a pretty fun way to kind of confuse one baby for another because it was one of the old designs for the baby. Now, as for something I didn't like, yeah, a lot of people felt that the ending kind of just seemed like a cruel twist ending, and I'd have to agree too. I thought it was kind of just unnecessary to have that sort of ending it just seemed like it was done for no other reason other than just to give Lincoln the short straw again, and I don't think it really was served much of a purpose. It was just kind of there to say, oh, Lincoln's efforts were futile or something like that. And especially because he actually did try his best to take care of Lily, and with Clyde's help. And yeah, I give him credit. I give them both credit, Lincoln and Clyde. I mean, yeah, they did well with what they could, even though it was not a picnic. So, having said that, though, I wouldn't mind if we got to see more of Aunt Ruth. I wouldn't mind if we got to see what else there is to her besides just being a woman who really likes cats. I like to see. So, that I wouldn't object to, like how she relates to the other family members, too, because we know she likes to single Lincoln out for the cat chores, but otherwise, it would be nice to see more about how she would interact more specifically rather than just the general ones that we saw in the segment. So, between the two sibling segments for episode 14, I give the edge more to the A segment, Toads and Tiaras, but at the same time, I don't dislike Two Boys and a Baby, but it's also not one of my favorites either, but I don't consider it to be a terrible segment by any means either. And with that, we've now discussed both segments of episode 14 on this channel. Take care, and until next time.